And now you're short. Alright. It's gonna get fiddling around. Anyways, hey guys. Probably no one watching for a little while, but it'll give me time to lay out my pipe. So, do that. And then tell you what was happening and where I've been for 2 weeks. Coffee good. Okay, so what the fuck is happening and where have I been for 2 weeks? Well, if you remember before, we had a little issue with the young man. Hey, Gerd. We had a little issue with a young man going missing. And we found him. But he happened to be possessed by the spirit of a window. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. What happened was, after the whole transference thing, I ended up spending like a week, actually 8 days, in a sweat lodge. Yay! It was oh so much fun. Mm-hmm. Right? 8 days in a sweat lodge, though. No food. It was a very special sweat. And so we basically ended up at, so I ended up going to St. Paul, which is just north of here, to Blue Quill School. And they had set up a special sweat back in the forest for me. And it was Dan, one of the elders, we're not going to say his name, and they actually brought in an Abenaki elder, which is really nice because that's my ancestry is Abenaki. And so they set up a sweat lodge, and they told me I was going to be in there until, and I shit you not, these are the words they used, until the sky cried for 3 days. So basically until it rained for 3 days straight. Okay, the words they used were until the heavens opened up and cried for me. Which was, alright, a little weirder. But basically, I was in there for 8 days straight with just water. And you go through a shit ton of water at a sweat lodge. So they would just like open the flap and bring in a bucket of water, like a big metal kind of bucket, 5 gallons, and I would just drink that. And then when that was done, I'd put it outside and I'd just continue the sweat. And the elder was in there with me for pretty much the whole damn thing. He actually had to take breaks. I'm sure I passed out a couple of times, but I was in that sweat for so bloody long. Hey, Tenchi. I was in that sweat for so bloody long that I started having my own visions. And, yeah, I haven't been on a vision quest in so long that it was kind of trippy. I mean, it's always trippy, but it was really trippy for me. But some good came out of it. And a little bit of not great news, but so the good is I finally remember what why I couldn't remember the Lich. And it wasn't because of the Lich. For sure. I love my Valhalla blend. It's got a nice kind of almost raisin aftertaste to it. And I just put the long stem on the church warden. Now, oh, hello, little butterfly. I'm obviously out on the deck enjoying the heat. Because it's actually about 23 Celsius out here. 78 Fahrenheit, I think. But, yeah, the good news, I can remember the Lich. The reason I couldn't remember the Lich is not the Lich itself. It was a terrible experience, which I'll tell you about now. Well, in a sec. It was an elder lich, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. I won't share the full ritual as to what happened because that's kind of what got blocked. Um, well, hello, little chickadee. There's some fresh peanuts right there. Yeah, one of the other reasons I love shitting out here. But yeah, so that's the good news. The bad news is I'm kind of stuck with Mr. W in my head and soul.
Nice.
Hopefully it works, Tench. Yeah, oh, the silver nitrate. Apparently you can add it to tattoo ink. So I got my tattoo updated. Well, redone, sort of. But yeah, Mr. W gets stuck in here. So I'm not voracious for humans, but after 8 days in the freaking sweat and then 3 days of, well, you still sit in the sweat until basically they open it up and they say you can come out. So it was 8 days in the actual sweat, and then I just stayed in the sweat lodge with just a normal little fire for the 3 more days. The first thing I did when I came home was shave. Because, wow, did everything feel weird. But yeah, the Wendigo is pretty much stuck in me. Doesn't mean that he can't get out, though probably. But it does mean that I'm not going to go cannibalistic. So, upsides and downsides. But yeah, it's kind of nice. One of the little changes that happened was right after that, I got a phone call yesterday telling me to come in tomorrow to the office so they could talk about reclassifying my job. And I said, okay, well, no. Let's do it now. He said, no, we're only going to do it on weekdays. I said, if I only worked weekdays, we'd have a lot more dead. So we just kind of talked about it over the phone. So yeah, our job's going to be expanded a bit, which may or may not be interesting, but at the very least, I'll have more stories to tell you. But yeah, anyways, the Lich. Let's go with that. Okay, so the Lich is in Vancouver, and if you've never been there, Vancouver is, it's a nice big metropolitan city, right on the coast. I've stayed there so many bloody times, but there's parts of Vancouver you just don't go to. Like, for instance, unless you really have to, you don't really go to East Van. I've done it a couple of times, not just for this, but for other reasons, which some we'll get to and some we won't. But yeah, I got a call to go to Vancouver, specifically to a spot in East Van. Now, in East Van, you'll actually run into snakeheads, which is a term for the human traffickers. Usually they have a snake tattoo on their neck, and they're triads, but they're the really nasty ones. Anyways, in this case, 7 young women, and when I say young, I mean like 14, 15, 16, had gone missing in East Vancouver, which in and of itself is not necessarily unusual, but 7 is kind of an important number. 3, 7, 9, 41, 47, blah, 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 blah. All those fun ones. 49, yeah. We'll get to that one later. Anyways, so they told me to go on down and start scouting it out. And I actually had an address to start with. And Van is not really the easiest place to get around. You can walk pretty much everywhere you need to, but you kind of run into trouble a little bit. Driving, good luck finding parking. Public transit, I only ever take it from the airport, so I actually contacted a friend of mine who lives down there. Dave. These are the days I know, I know. These are the days I know. Anyway, Dave Kahn, which is not actually his real name, it's the name he goes by. So, mostly because he doesn't like his real name. He's a junior. And him and his dad don't always get on. That's why he's in Vancouver and not here anymore. Anyways, Dave started driving me around these places, and we come across the address, and and I shit you not, Ho's Chinese food. It's just this little hole-in-the-wall Chinese food restaurant that Dave's actually been to. Now, Dave's last name is Khan, and he speaks a little bit of Cantonese, which is not helpful because the restaurant was Mandarin. Blue Jay, let the crow get something. Come on, sweetheart. There's some peanuts on there and peanuts over there. You know, if you stalk the Blue Jay, he's not going to leave you. Sorry. Hello, little Blue Jay. I like corvids. They're smart, entertaining. Any of the jays, any of the crows. But anyways, we get to the location. We go inside. Now, Dave actually knows the owner. And apparently he was sort of read in on things. He's not like an elder or anything like that. He's not like a shaman. He's not Big Trouble in Little China. Not like that guy, that one-eyed guy who's yeah, no, he's not like that. But he's a member of the local, what do they call it? Cultural society. He's another word for a triad. And one of the girls was last seen at his location, so that's why we were there. Yes, accent. Oh, God, I love that movie. Especially the blowing up. But yeah, we're there, and we're talking to this guy, and yeah, he said the last thing that she had ordered, and, you know, we went through everything. He doesn't have video cameras, of course, because, well, why would you when you're a triad? Yes. Oh, God, I love that movie. I'm going to have to watch it right after this. But, control and the reflexes, yep. But yeah, and then we went over everything. And I asked him, I'm like, is there anything weird going on? He goes, it's East Vancouver. Everything is weird. Which is true enough. East Van's like Portland. Weird shit is always on the menu. Kind of wish I was stationed in Portland, though. But, I asked, like, is there anything that doesn't feel right? Like, not... This kind of nasty shit is usually more of a feeling, an impression, a pressure on the soul than anything actually, like, you know, just straight up criminal. And he said, well, one of the delivery men that he has said he went to this one house and nothing felt right in the house. It felt like stepping into a meat locker full of rotten meat. Was it like a smell, or was it just the sensation? It was a sensation. So I said, okay, do you have the address? He did. We never actually got a chance to talk to the boy, which would have been nice, kind of useful, get an impression of the place before actually going in. But whatever. Dave drove me there, and I told him to stay in the truck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where are you? Just over there. I think he's annoyed because she doesn't like coming near me to get the seats, like the crows do. There we go. But told Dave to stay in his, sorry, not truck, van. Yeah, a van and van, right? It's handy for him. He's a carpenter, so he just throws things in there. And in Vancouver, people will steal from the back of your truck, but apparently not so much the van. Plus, he's got tinted windows and shit like that, so dude can't really see in the back. You know, you could just come by and get the peanuts. Still, that little crow I was talking to is buggered up because the blue jay just tortures her. Anyways. Park's outside, and I've got the address. And it's basically a little walk up, kind of like sort of like an apartment building. It's a 3-story walk up, just outside of East Van. And the buzzer doesn't work or anything like that. But fortunately, the door also, one of those wonderful doors where you can just force it open. So I got inside the building, technically breaking in, sort of. And I just walked up to the apartment, and you could feel it as you're coming down the hallway that there was just something so wrong about it. And as you get closer, it kind of felt like you were walking through hot, sticky ooze. I'd say molasses, but like hot molasses would, you know, it might still have a pleasant sensation, but this just felt wrong. So I walked all the way up to the door, and as I'm at the door, just something kind of screaming in my mind, go away, go away, go away. And I think someone had cast Don't Look Here. Or a really nasty one, like a fuck off. And so I pretty much figured I was in the right spot. So I knock. I always knock, just in case. No answer. So I did my best, big old brute force shoulder into the door, and it didn't work because that's actually the stupidest way to open this thing. But someone opened the door afterwards. And this guy, he must have been chasing the dragon or something because he looked like a walking skeleton. But he was still alive. And he starts talking to me in Cantonese. I don't speak Cantonese, I don't speak Mandarin, you know. That's the closest I've got, and that's go fuck your mother or something like that. He's kind of like yo for your mom in Russian. But nothing. I just kind of stormed past him, and he grabs my arm. He was really strong, especially for a guy probably out of his mind on heroin or opium. And the place just reeks. Like you walk through the door and you could just smell death. And so I just shoved him, and he literally hit his head on the wall and just slumped down. It was like something out of a cheap-ass cartoon. It was kind of funny. Anyways, I look around the apartment, and there's not really anything. There's a map of Vancouver, and then there's a bathtub full of purple, red nastiness. But it doesn't smell like blood. It's more sweet and foul. It was liquefied guts, the offal, that had just been left, and it had kind of rotted, but it wasn't your normal rot. It was like it had rotted really quickly and disturbingly cleanly. And so I looked up, and there was a pair of shackles attached to the roof in the tub. And I realized that this guy is now going to talk to me, because I'm not going to give him a choice. So I grab him, and I smack him around a little bit, because yes, at this point I've sort of started to lose my temper. And this is sort of one of the reasons why I ended up suppressing this, I guess. Jenny, by the way, was monitoring me the whole time. Oh, in case I didn't mention the doctor's name, it's good because I don't actually call her name. Her favorite movie is Forrest Gump, so I always just call her Jenny. Which is good when you're, trying not to tell someone's identity to a bunch of people. But, yeah. Anyways, Jenny had been monitoring me that whole time. And she said there's something to do with my temper. I did a bunch of blood tests when I got home too. Hey, Sil. Mm-hmm. There's a cracked peanut there if you want it. And there's a couple down there if you want to. Aw, thank you. Here's a little... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sweetheart. If you want water, there's some there too. Okay, so she's... Well, isn't that sweet? I don't know if you guys can hear her. Now you can hear her. Go ahead, little one. Alright, there we go. That was Sil. She wanted me to give her some peanuts, though there's a couple right nearby. I haven't had and fed her yet. She's not quite that trusty. She's still a wild crow. Yep. But yeah. So what I did, I grabbed the map, I grabbed the dude who was still out cold, but he maybe weighed like 95 pounds. I threw him over my shoulder, and I walked out of there. And as soon as I crossed the threshold with this guy, the hallway started to stink too. So maybe he was like a gatekeeper or something like that. But I go downstairs, I throw the dude in the back of the van, and I sit in the back of the van with him. By the way, Dave doesn't use like a panel van, which is just still kind of creepy in Vancouver. He uses a it's a minivan, but it's like, oh, hello, little one, chickadee. Black cap chickadee. You just had a bath, didn't you? You're all fluffy and kind of wet at the same time. Go ahead, under the peanuts. He's really cute. He's just staring at me. But yeah. Anyways. Ah, you little fucker. I was gonna show him to you and he flew right off. Fuck, movement. Run away. He's gonna eat me. I throw him in the back of the van, and I just sat down and told Dave to take us back to that restaurant because I don't speak Cantonese, but the owner still did. And as far as I was concerned, the three-eyed raven, right? Better than the three-legged crow, Karasu. But yeah, I took him back to the restaurant, and just, the old man was connected somehow, whether for good or bad. Right? Whether for good or bad, he was connected. So he's going to help us out. So, took him back to the restaurant, and we took him into the kitchen. I'm waking up, strapped to a stainless steel table in a kitchen. It's just got to be jarring. Anyways, we woke him up, which didn't take very long. The old man saw him, and I guess the old man had lost some children to opium and heroin. So that wasn't part of his, and he hated people who used and he hated people who sold. So that worked for us. So the old man woke him and started questioning him. Hey, dude. So the old man woke him and started questioning him. And at one point, I shit you not. So I don't know if you've ever seen Chinese cleavers, but there's one with a blade this big and a handle about the same. They'll go through damn near anything. The old man, who's about 75, 80 at this point. Yeah, right? The old man's about 75, 80 or so. And he doesn't look very frail, but he looks like your typical kind of wizened old Tong. Grabs the cleaver one-handed. Yep. He grabs the cleaver one-handed and just holds it over the guy. Grabs his hand and breaks it down. Now, rather than hands off to this guy. Yeah. let's just say it was good. We were in the kitchen. The dude survived. The old man eventually actually kind of didn't take him under his wing or anything, but got him to a program actually at a monastery. So that was kind of nice. But anyways, the guy eventually talked. He ended up missing one hand and three fingers, but he ended up talking. What he told us was he had been nice, Ted. I actually just watched Demon Knight last night. I was waiting for Billy Zane to do like, if you need a hand and shit like that. No, the old man basically translated for us, and the young man had been given the already dead bodies and had been told to drain them. So he cut open their bellies and drained them, and then someone else would come and pick up the bodies. Apparently, this was all part of a ritual to summon a fucking lich. So 7 young women. I think it was supposed to be the whole 7 virgins kind of thing. I don't honestly know, but I guess that's why they went for young ladies. But they knew if it was children, like 7, 8, and younger, the community would get on faster. So the map, he hadn't, relatively smart, he hadn't marked anything on the map, but there was like an indent. I don't know if you've ever just pressed on a map with like your finger or anything like that, but usually your fingernail leaves a slight indent, and if you do that enough times on one spot, you sometimes rub out a little bit. So we saw that. We had the young man confirm that's the location. That's the location. Okay, so that is where this person coming to pick up from him was taking the bodies. That's all he knew. Fine. The old man was really pissed, by the way. Now, I drove into van, so I had some of my stuff. Dave decided he was going to join me on this one. Now, we've actually fought together, mundanes in the past. Dave was a bit of a hothead when we were younger. So, our fights, he would start them, I would finish them. I don't like starting fights. I actually don't like hurting people, but it's my job, so. But yeah. So Dave decided to come along. He didn't have anything, so the old man literally hands him the fucking cleaver. Still bloody, by the way. And yeah, at that point I could have said, take it, Dave. He's lending you a hand. But anyways, we load up in Dave's van, and it was still just weird driving around East Vancouver in like a family van that had an unconscious man in it not that long ago, and now had a couple of my machetes and Dave's fucking meat cleaver. Anyways, we get to the house. Now this is actually, it was a house that was supposed to be like attached to a church. What are they called? Rectory kind of thing. Where the priest stays. It's kind of what it was originally intended as. Because you could still see there was a graveyard not that far. Like one plot over. Yes, that. But the church had been kind of burned down. Yes, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that because this is only my first cup of coffee and my first smoke. And first cup of coffee is gone. But yeah, the church burned down. You could still see kind of the husk. And I think now, looking back on it, that's probably why they had decided that would be the location. Because if the church had burned down and hadn't been reconsecrated, maybe it was desecrated ground. But whatever they did basically ended up desecrating it anyways. So, anyway, we go to the location, we go to the house, no lights on, nothing like that, no candles, but a big fuck off feeling right around the house, starting from the yard and everything. Nice. Remember, all that heat goes straight up. So just be careful. Don't burn yourself. So, yeah, big old fuck off feeling right around the yard and everything. So even more so than that young man's apartment. And so we know we're pretty much at the right place. Dave grabs that big ass cleaver, and I grab my machetes. And we go knock on the door. Now, of course, no one answered. Dave decides he's going to put the cleaver through the door. Now, here's the thing. Don't do that. Dave hadn't really been on something like this before. But when you put a cleaver, which is a nice, relatively narrow piece of steel, into a door, it gets stuck. So he puts the cleaver right into the door, and it starts going like this to get it free. I tried the doorknob, and it was unlocked. Apparently, a big fuck off sign, spiritual sign, is what they were intending to keep people out. Door opens, Dave's cleaver's still stuck in it, and woof, spiritual stink just comes off everything, along with kind of the nasty smell of opium, and just, I'm not even going to try and identify the rest of it, because it was just, still turns my stomach thinking about it. If a whale exploded, there, that's your smell. But, yeah. And yes, I've smelled exploding whale. Anyways, Dave finally gets his cleaver out of the door as I'm walking inside. Machete in each hand. Yes, machete's akimbo. And there's nothing in the house. Absolutely nothing. It's empty. It's clear. It's dirty. It's stinky. But there's nothing in the house. And you're wangy. So, yeah, exactly. Spirit funk. That's good. I like that term, Catch. But yeah, so, fuck. We walked through the whole house. It's got no basement, because parts of Vancouver do have a basement, but when you're in East Van, even just outside East Van, the basements get a lot of hydrostatic shock, so they tend to collapse. So it's just easier to not do a basement in most cases. Same thing in Winnipeg, which I'll eventually get to another story in Winnipeg, and my brother, who is also doing the same kind of work. And he'll tell you a story at some point too. But you're just gonna keep chirping, you little fucker. Anyways, we go out the back door, which is door that leads directly to where the burnt out church was. And you can just kind of feel that the spirit funk, the spiritual pressure gets stronger as we are approaching it. Hey, Sil. Go on. But, right. She's saying hi. Say hi again. She's like, no, I want my peanut. Good girl. Right? You know what that one? Oh, this is, it's like they're saying. Nope, just a crow. We don't actually have ravens where I am. You didn't like that, Peanut? Okay, admittedly, we've set up a bird bath, sort of. It's a kiddie pool. Right? Kiddie pool, and that little spurt is a solar fountain. It prefers really strong sunlight. And Nikki wanted to see if they would take the peanuts from there, so that peanut was in there last night. So it's probably a little funny smelling. But either way. Like I said, side effects of what I do right. Friends with the crows. And actually most of the birds around here too, because I do happen to feed them. Stop making fun of me. But anyways, there was one wall in the church that was closer to the cemetery that hadn't quite fallen down. We approached there because everything else was basically rubble. And what we did was we walked in there, and Jesus Christ, what we found. Corpses of 7 young girls, heads pointed inward in a circle. Candles around each one, and they were white candles, and then on their feet were black candles. But the flames were wrong. Like, red flames. And I looked at Dave, and like, Dave, okay, he's not the biggest into Chinese mythology and religion and so on and so forth. So he's not exactly a fountain of information, but even he looks at this shit and he's like, this is hell. He's like, the red is supposed to be hell. Right? Okay, I'll check that one out. That's a blue jay. Oh, this is what the fountain looks like when it's got sun. And we've got a spider plant in there too. Right? I'll check that out. But yeah, so there's one person, we actually missed him. He was in the back of the wall, out of candlelight. You remember in Desperado, when they're describing him, Antonio Banderas' character, the mariachi entering, and it's like the lights dimmed for him? It was that kind of bullshit. It was like the candlelight didn't want to reach him. Well, he stepped in, said one fucking word, and it was like the world just kind of broke for a minute. And then he runs forward and runs his knee. Dave didn't even hesitate. Good on him, by the way. Didn't even hesitate. Swung the cleaver like a bat and hit the guy full in the chest. Now, Dave's about a foot shorter than me, and this guy was about my height, so maybe Dave was going for a decapitation. Decapitation! So I woke up watching Brennan Tenold today. But he put it in the guy's chest, right through his freaking... See where the is? Yeah, right about here, just below the dude's nipples. Cut into his heart. Now, that cleaver kind of stayed where it was. But the world had broken when that dude said whatever word. And it was a word. Capital W word. All the cannons go up. I'll call him a summoner. It's probably not the right term. There's probably a special term for a Chinese summoner. But poof, summoner dead. Candles go out. And we're pretty much in darkness. Now, I'm still not an idiot. I'm still holding a flashlight. I've got a chem light on me, and I've got my head on. I kind of look like a dorky hunter at this point, but I don't fucking care, because I can see. And I swing my head to the center of the circle, because that's just where everything, my spidey senses and all that stuff, my zombie senses, are telling me to look. And there's just something there. Now, it's not, when you see, like, D&D style witches, right? They're always in fucking robes. And sometimes they're skeleton-y, and sometimes they're more zombie-like. This thing just was wrong. Like, staring at it hurt your head. So, yeah. More tobacco. So, how to describe it so you guys can understand. Alright, okay, yeah. Remember the smoke thing from Lost? And how you can sometimes see a shape in it? Kind of like a shadow person? Well, imagine if that had a feeling as if you were at the end of Human Centipede, 300 people long, and someone had just shat on you out of that last centipede. That's what it felt like. What it looked like was like a shadow made of smoke, but with solidity in the middle. It didn't have It had substance. It had volume. It had mass. But it didn't have like glowing eyes or anything. It's more along the lines of it was kind of a hole in the world uh, made into a humanoid shape, right? So, yeah. And when it spoke, Jesus fucking Christ. Capital W word for that one guy, this was nothing. This was, he said nothing, and there was a void in what he said. And the 7 girls stood up. So, 7 on 1 is not my favorite, especially with that lich in the middle. So, I tossed Dave one of the machetes. He's a little shaken up at this point, but good on him. He grabbed the machete and just started wading in. So how do you get rid of a lich? Varies depending on the lich, apparently. What we did was because the girls were attacking us, which, by the way, this is part of the reason why apparently I didn't want to tell it. We beheaded 7 corpses of 7 young ladies. And it was fucked up. I don't have any coffee. I don't have any more of my comfort stuff. So if I look agitated, go with that. Anyways, yeah. Individually, they weren't dangerous. They weren't super strong. They had the strength of young women, basically. And my machetes are always sharp. Dave actually, at one point, got his machete stuck, so he went back to the cleaver. She doesn't like me telling the story. He went back to the cleaver and helped out. All of my weapons are blessed weapons. That's one of the things I was telling Rob years back. Everything of mine is blessed. So, yeah, even my pocket knives. They're all blessed weapons. So, not really a Catholic priest kind of thing, but they're all blessed. They're all named. So, I know I don't really tell the names of the machetes anymore. You might have noticed, like the Barong Izidun and some of the others. I just stopped telling people the names after a while. But yeah, they're all blessed. I don't have a problem with that. Dave's big ass cleaver, I wouldn't say it was blessed, but I would say it was effective. Because when he finally was able to just take off heads, the body dropped. And the thing they don't tell you, every single movie and stuff like that, when you see a head get taken off, the bodies literally just crumble. Like, they don't fall backwards or fall forwards. They just strings cut down. And the head usually falls either right next to the body or right on top of the body, and it just kind of rolls away. But as soon as the girls' heads were off, they liquefied. They turned into that purple goop that was in the do I videotape it or take pictures or anything like that? No. Fuck no, man. It's part of the contract. Is I'm not allowed to videotape it. I'm allowed to do this shit because nobody's gonna fucking believe me. Which is, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if, when people are like, well, like you said, do you have any proof or anything? No, just look at this crazy fucking nut job on his channel just spouting shit about this. So no, I don't have any proof. That's why I'm telling them as stories rather than factual, let's take a look at this video and we'll see, and I've got a body cam, that kind of stuff, right? So no, these are just, count these as stories rather than factual documentary kind of thing. And that's the easiest way for me to get away with this shit. But yeah, no, that was a good question. That was a really good question. Sorry, lost train of thought. Oh yeah, goop. Oh, thanks, Josh. Yeah, like I said, most of these are going to come across as just stories. So if you take them with a grain of salt, awesome. If you want to totally believe them, that's also cool. Think of them as educational videos, right? Those in the know believe makes sense. But yeah, uh, once we had, I hate using the phrase dealt with, but once the girls were sort of put back to rest, uh, the lich was the last one. Right? Yeah, totally true, Garen. Your tobacco helps, and you'll notice I usually do tobacco when I'm doing these. It's kind of tobacco is a spiritual herb, so you can look at it a few different ways. It's kind of like the smoke takes the prayers to the gods, or to the spirits, or to the Great Spirit, or to God. Just depends on what you believe, right? Um, so yeah, the coffee's really just because I like coffee. It's my spiritual thing. But yeah, the last thing we had to deal with was the lich. Uh, so usually with a lich, you kill the summoner. He'd already done that, and this fucker was still alive. Well, okay, alive in a relative term. Uh, Functioning, it was still there. Um, the girls had been dealt with. I'm not going to say laid to rest because we actually did do that later. We did do an actual purification of the area. The church had been an old Presbyterian church, so we actually brought in a Presbyterian priest, pastor. Um, the Dryad had come by too. The old man. Oh, sorry, low battery. Let's press that. Sorry, that was a low battery warning. Videos eat up a lot. But the lich was still there. So normally you would kill the summoner, or you'd break the circle, or something like that. The candles were out, the girls were gone, the summoner was dead. Massive violence was pretty much all we had left. So okay, so Dave ended up with a broken wrist and a broken arm. Opposite side, right wrist. Um, the Oh Christ, I don't even know what swing he was on, but anyways, as he was going like this, it slipped off his other hand, and this hit against the lich, and his wrist like broke right away, and then the lich like shoved him back and put up the other arm, and it broke his forearm. So I don't know. Dave doesn't break that easy, but at that point, Dave had already chopped into him so much that he was kind of. You remember the T1000 when he gets shot and he's all kind of wobbly and stuff like that after the grenade launcher? Yeah, kind of like that, only a little more upright. I fucking just kept chopping until I took its head off. It was still moving at that point, so I just kept chopping until there was nothing left. I can ask him, yeah, for sure. I don't think he has a YouTube channel. He's a big techie guy. But yeah, I'll ask him for sure. My brother is going to be on here and he's going to tell the story. You'll actually, if you've seen some of my other videos, he's J Daddy. And one of the kind of like fun videos we did was actually me going down there to train him. So we decided to do a fun video to just kind of dark shit, funny shit, kind of take off the edge, right? But I hacked until that thing was in pieces. And, my favorite way to get rid of everything is fire. So, um, so I'm a polytheist. Um, so what I do is I usually cleanse the blades I cleanse them in blessed water. I rub them down with blessed oil. Now, both of those are actually from a local Catholic priest who knew my father. Um, and so that's it's kind of the first step. I also use sage to cleanse them when I name them, and that gets rid of any previous associations, positive or negative, and then kind of claims them as mine. The water and the oil afterwards, and then there's a little extra. Most of my blades have at some point nicked me, and I do my best not to do blood magic or anything like that, but if they've nicked me, then they're there. So No, mostly because most of my blades are high carbon steel, and even blessed salt on them will start to rust. And I don't think there's such a thing as blessed rust. So, so no, I don't actually use the salt. I do carry around two pouches, one of blessed salt, and actually one of just straight up table salt, because sometimes you just need to make a circle, and you don't always need blessed salt for that. So, sure. Shit, I don't have my notebook on me. Uh, I will do up a tutorial. Got my notebook inside, so I'll write down that to do a tutorial. And yeah, I'll do that as either a live stream or I'll pre-film it and show you all the kind of what I do. Um, yeah, that's not a problem. That's actually a good idea. Thanks. Um, I'll even give you credit. But yeah, Islet. Sorry. Low blood sugar sometimes makes you shake, sometimes anxiety, sometimes the stories. I lit the what was left of everything on fire. One of the things that is actually surprisingly hard to get up here is road flares, but I always carry one of those on me too. And the goop went up, and it had like sulfur. Yeah, nasty ass smell. Anyways, the burnt out church ended up burning out a little bit more. Um, Dave is fine now. He laughs because he doesn't even have scars or anything like that from the fight. Apparently, when the wrist broke and this broke, it was like they were perfectly clean, but they were just instant breaks. Like this thing had made that part of the bone just die, but in such a clean fashion that the bone was able to re-knit afterwards. I don't know. Dave had to get a little bit of time in the hospital because there was a little bit of an issue with the infection, but that's either here nor there. I'd joke that it was the clap or something like that, but no, he's married and she would kill me. Um, but eventually, what happened afterwards is Vancouver Fire Department did eventually show up. We stuck around. I was actually arrested for arson, which was dropped, and it never actually made it onto the books or anything. The old man from Hose, I guess I could call him Ho, but I don't honestly know if that was his real name. It was the old man showed up, and he talked to the police and let them know what was happening. Apparently, I don't know if they were read in, but he totally was now. And so, while I was sitting in the back of the cop car, um, people started showing up from the local community, and there was apparently the Presbyterian pastor and some other community members that honestly they all looked like 85-year-old, just they were like old Chinese couples. It was really kind of cute if I hadn't known what they were doing. And they kind of cleansed the area, cleansed the space, and that fuck off feeling kind of dissipated. Now, I always wondered why they didn't do it in the cemetery, just kind of like raise something from there. But apparently, that cemetery, when they laid the fence, and fences on cemeteries are not to keep people out, they're to keep things in. When they laid that fence, they had actually done a perfect job, um, and it just contained everything. So it was like they needed to get close to death, but they couldn't get into where the dead were. So, but yeah, the oh yeah, oh dude, no, not really. I sort of had like a contract with the government, so yeah, that's actually a good idea. I think he's probably still around. He seemed, yeah, he basically seemed like he was going to live forever. I haven't been to Van this year. I went last year for a recruitment event for the university, back when I actually worked for them, which is now no longer a thing. Um, but yeah, no, that's a good idea. I should get him because Mandrew doesn't know a lot. Uh, his grandma was where I used to get most of the information from, but unfortunately she passed 2 years ago. So, but yeah, no, that's a good idea. There's also actually a Shaolin monastery, I shit you not, on St. Albert Trail in about 140th Ave here. Um, and I go there quite often. They have a lot of books, and I can't read most of them. Not just they don't allow, but I don't read the language, but they're very helpful. But yeah, everything ended up getting pretty much cleansed at that location. But Vancouver's kind of okay. Eventually, I'll tell you about the Elder Lich, but let's just say there was a pig farm involved in that one. You can probably guess what it is. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but yeah. But as my battery's dying, and apparently I've been yammering for almost an hour, and I'm out of coffee, and I'm out of tobacco, and the story's done, I'm going to say thanks for listening in. Stay safe. Vancouver, by the way, is actually a real fun place to go, especially once all this COVID stuff is done. So yeah. Yep, contracted with the federal government. 10-year contract, and then they renewed for 2 years, which is actually up at the end of this year. And then the reclassification that I was talking about earlier basically means that they're going to extend the contract. So, yeah. Ciao, Garen. See you, Ray. John. Tenchi. I'm sure there was someone else that was watching that I missed. Sorry, that was another low battery warning. And we will talk to you guys later. And remember, Canada's great, except for the zombies. And apparently whatever else I have to hunt down now. So. Oh, sweet. Have fun, Tench. Remember, keep an eye on the meat. There was going to be a joke off that. Ciao, guys.